Alright, people, how you doing? Just checking up on ya. It's Friday the 24th of February 2023. Just had a little traffic on the back. Some fucking stupid person in a car crash just delayed everybody for like 15 minutes, which is, I always get to a little bit of a like hesitation when I'm cursing these people who are stupid enough to get into car accidents, because I thought to myself, well, what if someday I got into one of those accidents and I'm willingly holding everybody off for like another 15-20 minutes. I wouldn't want other people to curse me like that in their mind, so I probably shouldn't curse these people in my head when I'm seeing something like that. But come to think about it, if I am that person in the future one of these days, then yeah, other people totally have the right to curse me and call me names and say I'm a fucking moron, because I will be. Anybody who are driving recklessly and causing a car accident that slows everybody down are fucking morons, including possibly my future self. So there you go. All right. So the reason I wanna shoot this video is that I have this boss in the company who's like this pretty smart, knows what he's doing guy, but he's like a lot of times bored, especially when everybody just quietly sitting in the cafeteria eating lunch. Just he had to start a conversation with someone, like anyone. He just he cannot just enjoy a little bit of quiet time, which I can totally do that. And most of the times, as long as he's not directing the conversation directly to me, I stay silent. And it's like he doesn't really even have a lot of good topics. I mean, sometimes he has really good, thoughtful argument that he will make, and I would really appreciate that, because I actually learn a lot. Sometimes it changes my perspectives, but a lot of times it's just all those old conversations. For example, there's this girl in our company bought a Tesla, and the Tesla topic just keeps coming up and up and up and up, like dozens of times. Like, there's nothing new to talk about the new car. It's just the car running on electricity. You hate that, sure, but what else there's to talk about? All right, there's one thing, and then the most popular topic he likes to bring up is having kids. Like, anybody in the company who's in their 20s, late 20s, early 30s, who doesn't have kids, myself included, he likes to ask, oh, so when are you gonna have kids? Like, the same conversation over and over and over again. Like, sometimes you get even tired to debate it, right? And I just thought, I don't know, I feel like there's this arrogance that older generations have. They always do, over young people, and because they think they're smarter, they think they have more experience, they think that young people today are just lazy or stupid, and blah blah blah, and a lot of times in history that'll be true, because history's the rate of I would say technology innovation or scientific development or society development or whatever. The rate of that has always been, I would say, an exponential curve, which means that it stays flat for a very, very long time, and then suddenly it goes up. We're in this suddenly goes up era, which means that if you stay for example, in a forest, in a mountain for 10 years, living by yourself, hunting, eating grass or whatever, and you come back to society, then your knowledge you acquired 10 years ago will be completely outdated, right? You wouldn't know how to do like a basic job, because all those basic things you have to know how to do a basic job are changed. Like, this is a completely new era in human history, because we have never been in an era where technology innovation is so fast that it leaves people obsolete after a decade or two. So in human history, your experience in your 20s would probably very likely be still very useful in your 60s or 70s. So you have the capital you have the story to tell to look down to young people because they are stupid, compared to you, because they have to learn the same thing you learned, and you're so much better than it. So I guess it's like justifiable for historical older generations to look down to young people and be arrogant and just giving shit to them, but not today. No. I'm not just saying that technology are evolving so fast that old people's knowledge are obsolete. No, they're not. It's just that, not just that, but a lot of times it's the young people have to face a lot other challenges that old people have never faced, and they often either didn't know or being willfully ignorant about those things, and they still like to come out like in the moral high ground to judge and justify young people. For example, on the topic of having children, why would young people are less likely to have children these days than they used to? Well, first of all, it's much more of a social convention to have kids. You rarely, or you would never ask someone, why would you want to have kids in 50 or even 30 years ago? Because you would be treated as a crazy person, right? Because everybody's default setting is to have kids. If you don't want to have kids, you're stupid, you're silly, you're crazy. But nowadays, it's a legitimate question to question yourself and other people. What is the pros and cons to have kids? Right? It's actually a decision you have to make first, then to think about when do I want to have kids, if you're ever going to have one. Because that's something I noticed recently, because a lot of people in my company, they're older. This is how they argue about the having children question. It's like, hey, blah, you should have children. I was like, okay, why? Convince me. I'm open to your opinions. And they would say, well, if you have them early, see, here's how they start their argument. If they have them early, you will be only 50. When they're at their 20s, they will still be young enough to enjoy your retirement. You can be with your grandkid when you're 55 or something. It's you would have a lot of time to enjoy after having this kids thing. You see the problem about that? Let's halt, and they will build up on examples and cases and personal experiences on that, which is all true. They're not lying. But you see the problem about that argument is that they're kind of assuming that you have to have kids. You know what I'm saying? They seem to jump the part where you should at least prove that you should have kids. Then you should try to make an argument that it's better to have kids earlier than later, which I actually agree if you decided to have kids. But they seem to not realize that it's a decision you have to make first to have kids. They seem to just jumped over that part and started talking about, if you want to have kids, you have to have it early. But what if I don't want to have kids? It seems unthinkable to them that you don't want to have kids. It's I'm not saying that everybody today who are younger are so advanced or so sophisticated in the brain department than old people, that they suddenly everybody is so thinking about questions like this. It's a shift of social win. I don't know how you say it. It's a shift of social norm, right? People are not in general, people are following the trend. Most of us, you can deviate it from a little bit up and down, but most part you're following the social trend. And 50 years ago, 30 years ago, the social trend, the default settings that everybody have kids. Nowadays, it's not so much. So old people don't realize that young people today are living in a society where it's not such a default setting to have kids. Therefore, everybody is, kind of moving up and down on that norm instead of their norm. So they get angry when you don't do what they say, when in fact it's not your fault. It's even if we do agree that not having kids is a bad choice, which is definitely not a concrete proof, but they seem to get angry that you don't do what they expect you to do without realizing that you're in a totally different era. There are other examples of why young people are not considering having children so early or at all. For example, student loans. It's crazy. It's if you want to make people have kids, how about forgiving student loans so that young people don't have to pay off their student loans for the next 20, 30 years of their life after graduate college? For example, healthcare, right? 25% of people in the United States, which is a developed country, cannot afford healthcare, which is the only developed country in the world. The situation is unique. All the other developed countries give free healthcare to everybody. How about, I'm not saying that's the solution, but it definitely helps. Like, people are less, when they're are more willing to do children stuff, having children, when they're relaxed, when they're financially secure, when they don't have to worry about, oh, what if I get sick tomorrow and I can't even pay my medical bills? Like, millions of people bankrupt because of medical bills every year. People in the United States pays like 1,000 times more on certain drugs than people in Canada do. It's all about corporate greed, right? I don't want to get into that. It's, that's why it's so frustrated to argue with old people. It's not that they're stupid. No, they're not. If anything, a lot of them are really smart. My boss is really smart. It's that they don't respect it. Like, it's not just my boss. My parents, my girlfriend's parents, certain people, like just older generations, you happen to have a conversation with in a serious, argumentative way. They don't respect the mutual understanding that any meaningful argument should have. Like, basically, they just want to talk their point of view and get angry when you don't really do exactly what they say. All right, it's very frustrating, and you know what the most frustrating thing is that eventually we, the young people, will become one of them. I don't think I'm so special to escape that kind of circle. It's a circle of life. Like how almost every I would say every, that's why I said almost every, but every older generation people over 50s would say that video games is so terrible. It's like they would classify it as one of the things that destroy people, like alcohol and drugs and heroin, And if you ask the same question to young people below 30 years old, I would say below 30, 35, just give it a range, they wouldn't say that. They would say that it's very cheap, affordable entertainment, slightly addictive, because they're so advanced these days, getting better and better, and they would embrace it for the most of the time, and they would never associate playing video games with anything negative of a person. Well, maybe girls would do that if their boyfriend is like playing games all the time and not spending time with you, but that's another topic completely. So why is that discrepancy? Are all the young people somehow knows better, or all the old people somehow knows better because one of them has to be right? No, it's not, because it's a circle of life. That famous saying, right? Every innovation or everything that happens between when you're born and your 20s are technological miracles that changes the world. You should embrace it. Everything happens after that are abominations that should be outlawed. Right? It's like people in their youth are most likely to embrace new ideas and way of living, and then when they're said and done, and new things are still popping out every minute, they refuse to change because it's harder for them to change. So it's easier for them just to label those changes bad. Right? It's human nature. I'm 100% sure, at least I know myself that much. When I got older, whatever innovation people have those days, I would say it's not so good. Oh shit, there's a fucking stone on the ground. How's that happening? Anyway, it's that's a real sad thing. It's like you would eventually live as one of those people you now find frustrating. So I don't know. It's maybe that, okay, if someone makes a point using that as the reason why you should have kids, I would totally agree and respect that, because the reason you should have kids is that you should have someone around you for another, I don't know, 20, 25 years, and you can take advantage of their fresh perspective, their ability to take in new things, to embrace the innovation and technological development of that era, you know. So you can stay mentally younger for another 20, 25 years. That's a legitimate advantage of having kids. Yeah, I would totally agree to that. But, you know, if they start to argue, oh, you want to know why you should have kids? If you have kids younger, blah blah, just completely skip over the why should you have kids part. Then I lose respect to them. I mean, I'm sure future young people will lose respect to me on, you know, whatever topic we're talking about then. But it's a very interesting yet frustrating circle. Yeah, in a way, I kind of envy the old times, the ancient times. I definitely do not envy their way of living. Like, they don't even have flushing toilet, right? They don't even have like flu medicines or flu shots. Probably flus kill a lot of people every year. But I do envy the fact that for their technology develops so slowly that you kind of don't have to worry about yourself getting obsolete. Yeah. All right, that's all. Thank you. I shouldn't say thank you. Come thank you too. Nobody's gonna watch this. All right, see you next time. Shut up.